Hello all. Our topic for today is ultrasonic interferometer. So basically interference is caused due to superimposition of two waves, and this interference pattern can then be used to extract information about the wave. So this interference pattern along with the measurement of the wave gives us an interferometer. And what is ultrasonic? So basically you all will be knowing that the tendency of human ear is to hear frequencies in the range of 20 Hertz to 20 kilohertz. A human ear can only hear frequencies in this range. If you go above this, so frequencies above human range are called ultrasonic, and frequencies below human range are called infrasonic. Now, ultrasonic is actually the range used by bats, bees, etc. to avoid obstacles in darkness with the help of echoes. So you all will be knowing that bats echo a noise which is ultrasonic noise, which can't be heard by human ear. And then these are echoed with from whatever obstacles are in the way, which helps the bat to carry out its path without facing obstacles. Now coming to sonics. So sonics are, one is a sonic range, which is normal sound wave range. So the normal sound wave, as we know, or the normal sonic wave range is about 343.2 meters per second. Anything above this, above the normal sonic range, is called supersonic. And if you have something which is greater than 5 times of sonic waves, greater than 5 times of this value, is called hypersonic. So what I've covered here is basically what is ultra and sonic regions. Now I've already told you what is interferometer. So let's move to using these ultrasonic waves to produce, or using these ultrasonic waves to calculate the velocity of the liquid, any given liquid for that matter. So now first thing is to generate the ultrasound waves. Obviously normally you won't get it in, like what we hear is normal human sound. So human sound cannot produce these ultrasonic waves. How do you generate these ultrasonic waves? Is basically there are three different types. There could be more. I'm going to cover three, of which we are going to use one. So earlier days production of ultrasonic wave were done using mechanical methods. So what happened in mechanical methods is high pitched sounds were produced using pipes, whistles, longitudinal vibrations of rods. So because of this, ultrasounds were produced. Now however, with these high pitched sounds, the waves weren't that powerful. So there was not any quantitative measurements, like we didn't have great quantitative measurements of the information about the wave. So because of this also is one of the reason of the major disaster which happened in 1912, the famous Titanic ship. So it is one of those reasons that back then we couldn't calculate, like the basic most used application is sonar. And back then, since these waves weren't that powerful, we couldn't get more information. So after the Titanic disaster, Langevin in 1912 thought of producing ultrasonic waves with more modern methods, you can say. Now there are two modern methods. The first one is called magnetostriction. So what happens in this magnetostriction method is a bar magnet. So you take a ferromagnet in bar shape. This ferromagnet is placed in alternating current fields, and because of the alternating current and magnetic fields, this magnet expands and contracts. So with rapid expansion and contraction of the magnet, what we get is ultrasonic waves. And the method we are going to use is the piezoelectric method. So now what is a piezoelectric method? Let's look at that in detail. So basically this is the most commonly used method. Now what happens here is you have a quartz crystal. Now this quartz crystal or any crystal, like there could be a salt crystal, but majorly what we use is quartz crystal of a particular cut shape. So it could be a hexagon or some particular shape. This quartz crystal is given mechanical pressure on both the sides. So because of this mechanical pressure, and then you can apply an electric field. So what happens is, because of the mechanical pressure and the electric field produced, when there is electric field passing through this, you get waves, because these crystals expand and contract. So you have mechanical pressure plus electric field acting on the crystal, which causes the crystal to expand and contract. Now the rapid expansion and contraction of these, depending on the direction of the field, gives rise to ultrasonic waves. Now this ultrasonic waves at highest resonance will produce sound wave or longitudinal waves with highest value or highest amplitude. That is the ultrasonic wave we are concerned with. So at resonance, the maximum vibration, which produces the maximum standing wave or ultrasonic wave of maximum amplitude, is what we are going to take usage of. So first let's see how is the experimental setup, and then we'll proceed to the experiment and the working, to understand the working. So this is how the experimental setup looks like. You have a micrometer here. This micrometer basically has a least count of 0.01 mm, and the maximum reading, this goes up. So this is a micrometer screw gauge basically. So the maximum reading this screw gauge goes up to is 25 mm. So this is my micrometer screw gauge. Followed by this micrometer screw gauge is a vessel kind of. In this vessel we have a rod which is then connected at one end to a reflector. So here we have a reflector, and on top this is a two-walled these are the two-walled, and this is the vessel. So it is a two-walled vessel. Inside this will be your liquid. So let's say this is my liquid. At the bottom of this two-walled cylinder or vessel, you will have your quartz crystal placed here. So I'll just mark it with a different color. So I'll make it in more detail, like I'll give the namings, but initially I'll just tell you what it is. And after this, here we have the entire setup on a stand. And now over here, inside this is the liquid, and here is our water bath. So basically this two-walled area or two-walled cylinder passes through a water bath. Why a water bath? To maintain it at constant temperature, because obviously temperature also affects velocity. So to maintain the temperature at constant position, we have this water bath here. And obviously the water, with pressure there will be release of steam. So inlet outlet for steam to maintain the temperature. And here, as I told you, you will be applying electric field. So that electric field is then applied here. So you have a RF connector here. This RF connector basically gives both, sorry for this, but this is my RF connector, which will give a frequency and also the electric field. This is my quartz crystal, as I already told you. This is to maintain, this is a water bath to maintain constant temperature. This is our liquid in which we want to calculate the speed of or the velocity of sound. Now this is a double-walled vessel this is made up of chromium generally, and here is the reflector. Now what reflector does and what is the importance, I'll cover ahead. So just look at this diagram once and I'll move to the theory part of this. So basically we are producing ultrasonic waves using piezoelectric method. Now this is a double celled cylinder which is made up of chromium, and it can have up to 10 ml of water or liquid. So the quantity which this cylinder can hold is around 10 ml. So all our experiments for whatever liquid you are carrying using this ultrasonic, the maximum quantity of liquid you can put in is 10 ml. After this, I already told you that this is double walled only so that this area outside consists of water to provide a water bar to maintain constant temperature. This micrometer scale can go up to maximum 25 mm with the least count of 0.01 mm. Now frequency will already be set by us. So at the known frequency, you produce piezoelectric waves, which in turn give us ultrasonic waves. Now what happens is, this is a movable portion. So this entire thing, this cylinder is movable. Now because this cylinder is movable, the amount of pressure on this liquid can be changed. So when I close it towards inward, the distance keep on decreasing between the reflector and the quartz crystal, and as a result you are applying pressure on your liquid. So what happens is, when you are applying pressure, the waves produced because of the quartz crystal, as I already told you that the quartz crystal will give us ultrasonic waves, will pass through the liquid on the opposite side but then get reflected back from the reflector. So what is happening is, here you are getting waves, longitudinal or standing waves, which when hit here are reflected back. This causes superimposition of the waves. So superimposition is where the interferometer comes into picture. Now because of this superimposition of the waves, or when the waves interfere, then the separation between them is exactly the separation between the two waves is exactly an integer multiple of lambda by 2. I repeat, the separation between the two waves. So when you are superimposing the two waves, so this is one wave and suppose this is the other wave. So this separation is exactly an integer multiple of lambda by 2. The integer being 1, 2, 3 or -1, -2, -3 and so on. So these standing waves produced with the exact integer multiple of lambda by 2 causes acoustic resonance. Now this acoustic resonance gives us, as I already told you, maximum amplitude on your waves. Now this maximum amplitude, this is connected, as I told you, to a frequency generator. Along with this frequency generator, we also have an ammeter here. So this gives us maximum amplitude on our ammeter. Now this point where you get maximum amplitude on the ammeter is where you will note the reading of your screw gauge. I repeat what I just said. When you are changing this screw gauge, you are increasing or decreasing the distance, then pressure will be applied on your quartz crystal. Now when this pressure is applied, right in the start I told you, this will generate standing waves or ultrasonic waves. These waves will be reflected by the reflector, causing superimposition of the two waves. This superimposition of the two waves will have a separation of not maybe, but this separation has to be an integral multiple of lambda by 2. At this point you get maximum amplitude on the maximum reading on the ammeter, because this is where resonance is achieved. So what happens is, when you get the maximum reading on your ammeter or the current, then you know that after particular distance, so when I reach here, I will continue to progress in whatever direction, and again after a distance which is equal to lambda by 2, I will get my next resonance. So resonance is only occurring at integral multiples of lambda by 2. So suppose my first resonance occurs at 3 times lambda by 2. Now when I increase or decrease my screw gauge, the next resonance has to occur at either 2 lambda by 2 or 4 lambda by 2. So each time I get the maximum ammeter reading, I will calculate what I have got on the screw gauge reading. This reading, so suppose my reading is some x. This is the first screw gauge reading. Then when I get my second maximum amplitude, I'll measure the reading. I know this x minus y has to give me lambda by 2. I repeat, this x minus y has to give me lambda by 2 because this is the rule of the ultrasonic. Like we are getting resonant waves continuously at a difference of lambda by 2. So using this distance, at each distance I can calculate lambda by 2. Once I get all my lambda by 2, I can take their mean. So I'll get my lambda by 2 mean. I know the frequency, so I can substitute V is equal to lambda into F and calculate the velocity. So this is how I get the velocity. And what our reading table will look like is something like this. So you will have your screw gauge reading. So I get the first reading, I get the second reading, I get the third reading. I will calculate lambda by 2. So obviously this is the first reading, this will be blank. The second will be x minus y. The third will be y minus z, and so on. I will take all the means, substitute it and get the value of velocity. So let's move to the experimental setup. So this is the experimental setup of ultrasonic interferometer. This box, as you can see, has a frequency selector. So our manufacturer has given us 3 possible ranges, 1, 3 and 5 megahertz. This is the ammeter I was talking of. So when there is a distance of lambda by 2, like successive distances of lambda by 2 will give you a maxima or a minima on this micrometer. This is the adjust to adjust this scale of the ammeter and the gain. So gain will tell you, because what happens is the readings are very small when you are on 5 megahertz. So it is almost impossible to see that difference with minimum gain. So the maxima minima happens very fast, and because of that the gain is optional. Like maybe for 1 you can keep the gain somewhere here, for 3 you can increase, for 5 you can keep it at maximum. Now this is the micrometer screw gauge. Here is our double walled chromium cylinder with these inlet and outlets for keeping the temperature constant in the water bath. Here at the bottom will be a quartz crystal, and at the top here will be a reflector in this section. Because this I've closed, so I've already put in water. I'm using water and I've closed this. And this is the RF connector which will connect the frequency generator with the entire setup. So what I'll do now is decrease the micrometer screw gauge readings to generate pressure, and as I told you, at a distance of in multiples of lambda by 2 you will get a maxima or minima here. So let's start. I may skip first 2-3 maxima minimas, that's not a problem, but once you start taking readings you have to take continuous successive maxima minimas, either maxima or minima, choice is yours. That is why we are taking lambda by 2, because we are only taking one side. If you take both maxima and minima, then you will have to. So whenever you are basically working on a wave, you either measure, the distance is actually measured between the maximas or the minimas. You don't take maxima and minima both. No, it's either between 2 maximas. So you take this range or you take this range. You don't take this as a range. That's wrong. So let's start. I'll just skip first 2-3 to get a idea of where my maxima or minima is coming. So maxima is here only. Minima is somewhere on 5. So now maybe I'll start measuring minima, maybe. Let's see. So when it's come on, oh, it's gone lower. So maybe maxima. Maxima is still constant around the 5.3 value. It's not 5.3, it's actually something else. So the next one I'll measure. So I reached here. Let's see the reading. So I obviously you can see, but the screw gauge has 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, and there is a 0.5, 1.5, 2.5 on this side. So I am on 11 and the coinciding value is 13. So that will, so I'm writing the main scale reading is 11 and the vernier scale reading is coinciding is 13. Let's go ahead. So I'll decrease this, come back here. So I've almost got my maxima here. So this is 10.5 and the coinciding division is about 32. So I'll like that. Let's go ahead. So I'll just take 3-4 readings, not more. So this is where I've got my maxima approx. So this is 10. Okay, I'll just go a little reverse. Okay, yeah. So this was about so now I'm on 11, then I was at 10.5 and the next reading is what I want, which is on 10 and coinciding 8. Then let's go lower. So this is around 9 and coinciding 25. This was actually 9.5. So we'll just see in the calculations what we get. So let's calculate. This will become, so since this is 0.01 and you will multiply it with 13, so you will get 0.13. So this is 11.13. The next one is 10.82. The next one is 10.08. The next one is 9.25. So let's calculate the difference in these two. This comes out to be 0.74. This comes out to be 0.73. No, 0.83. And so on. You'll take readings, you'll find out the mean. So you will get a mean lambda by 2. You can take a set of around 14-15 readings, get the mean, and then substitute it. V is equal to lambda f. So if I substitute just 0.74 as of now, my frequency is at 1 megahertz, so I get 0.74 into 1 megahertz. Now this is in mm, so obviously you'll have to do the conversion to meters, and then you will get, this will give me around this was lambda by 2. So for lambda by 2 I want to make it lambda, so I'll also have to multiply it with a factor of 2. So this gives me around something 1480 meter per second, which is approximately, now approximately the velocity of water is this in sound. So this is approximately in the same range. So this is how you will calculate. Thank you.